I kept telling Chad, hey, we got to push him harder, man. We got to push. We got to move. And Chad kept telling me, we're going to be fine. We're going to make it. I was getting antsy because I wanted some buffer time, but I stuck with my buddies. Hey, everyone. Welcome to my Ranger School adventure, where I'm going through every day of my journey through the U.S. Army's Ranger School. In previous videos here, I covered how I failed my first time through Ranger School. So if you haven't watched the previous videos, I highly recommend you go back and watch them first, because today I'm going to cover my second time through RAP Week and how I went straight through and went to the Derby phase. All right, so we're starting. This is back at RAP Week after I failed the first time. So we're starting at day 0. This time, my buddy Chad and I were determined to be in the same company. So we just stood next to each other during the initial formation where everyone was split up into companies. Luckily, we were both assigned to Charlie Company. Matt, unfortunately, got assigned to Bravo Company. I also, this time, knew what items would be needed for the next couple of days. So I knew what to keep it accessible so I wouldn't have to dig through my bags. I also organized all my stuff in case I needed to find something quickly. So the first time through, I had just piled everything together, and I had to dump out all my bags to try to find stuff. And you only had, a couple of minutes to find these really small items. So if your stuff wasn't organized, good luck trying to find it quickly. But that time, being organized, found everything much easier. All right, so that's after day 0. We just did the layout. Now I'm going to go into day 1. This time, I took it easy on the 5-mile run, understanding that there was no reward for busting my butt. It was at the end of the run where I met a drill sergeant named Donnie, and he and I became really close during the rest of the course. Donnie was kind of a heavy-set NCO. He had a soft voice and generally positive disposition, but when he was in charge, he loved to yell very loudly, very often, which to many was annoying, but I got used to it quickly. He took a liking to me and was always giving me advice on being a platoon leader and a good soldier. He really liked my leadership style and always joked that I'd be a much better NCO than officer. He even said that he would bet that I would resign my commission and become an NCO at some point in my career. Well, I'm 12 years in almost, and that prediction hasn't come true, but there's still time. We stayed together throughout the whole course and became very good friends. All right, back to the story. This time, instead of putting our bags on the truck to run down to the combat water survival assessment, we had to carry them with us. We also took a different path down to Victory Pond. Instead of running on pavement, this was a dirt road, and the dust was extremely thick. You could barely breathe as you were running through it. This time, when I got down to the swimming assessment, rather than swimming really hard and trying to show off, I went through each of the events and did what I needed to pass without overexerting myself. Remember, one of the key reasons why I failed the first time was overexertion. So I didn't want to overexert myself. I didn't try to show off. I just did the event the way that I was instructed to do it. I was determined this time to do everything that I could to increase my chances of passing. I knew that the more physical activity I did, the more likely I was to cramp up. I had to do everything I could to increase my advantage of making it. I wasn't going home without a tab this time. All right, fast forward to day 2. And again, if you haven't watched the previous video, I go through these days in minute detail. So this is just updating because I've already gone through this once. So if you want to see that, go back and watch some of the previous videos. All right, this time, so we're on day 2. We started the land nav course, and I sprinted out of the gate trying to find my point, trying to buy some time. So I headed straight for my point that had caused me to fail me the first time I was on the land nav course. I had gotten assigned to the same point. And so I was a little worried, but I sprinted out there. After an hour of searching, I finally found the point, which was surrounded in a hedge. And there was only one angle from which you could approach the point in order to find it. I punched that point so hard that it almost broke, but luckily it didn't break. But I just wanted to take all my aggression and all my anger out on that point because it made me fail the first time. So I went and grabbed my other 3 points and got back to the start point, and I was a go. The land nav had knocked me out the first time, but this time I passed and I was ready to go. The good thing was Chad also passed, and so did Matt. Right, next was Ranger Stakes and Malvesti, and they went about the same, except my partner, whose name was Gruber, was awesome. So I also completed the monkey bars, which I failed the last time. But this time, in order to keep from cramping up, I drank all of the Sarah Sport that I could and anyone else's extra, along with excessive amounts of water. I dumped a ton of salt on my food in the chow line and from my MRE. I learned firsthand that proper hydration is not just a tagline. It is crucial to success. So I downed a crap ton of water, Sarah Sport, and salt. And as a result of all that, I felt energetic, motivated, optimistic the entire time. And again, contrast that with my first time through when I was feeling sluggish and lethargic and a little depressed. This time was much better. So we've covered overexertion and we have covered lack of hydration, which were two main reasons why I failed the first time around. And the third reason why I failed was just not taking the course seriously. And as you can see going through here, I'm thinking through the things that I'm doing all the right things, focusing on what I'm doing, and I'm taking the course seriously, trying to pass. So I was definitely in the right mental state. Okay, so day 3. This time, because I passed land nav the first time, I got a few extra hours of sleep. The failures had to get up 2 hours before everyone else, so passing was crucial. The rest of the day was just doing CIF, where you go and draw a bunch of equipment and some other administrative stuff. That night was also the 12-mile road march. Now, it used to be 16 miles, and it might be 16 miles now as you march out to Camp Darby, but when I went through, they did a 12-miler. It was a strict time standard. Pretty sure it was 3 hours. That's pretty standard for the ruck. Matt, Chad, and I all found each other before we began the ruck march. We made a quick pact that we were all going to either make it out to Darby together or we were going back to Ibola together as failures. Matt was in Bravo Company and had gotten worked over significantly harder than Chad and I had in Charlie Company. So Charlie Company, when I went, was by far the most desirable company during Rap Week. They didn't smoke you nearly as much. Alpha and Bravo got smoked late into the night, but Charlie Company, they would teach you stuff and you'd have you'd have classes late into the night instead of getting smoked. So more constructive, in my opinion. Matt was in a bad way when we started the ruck, and he was really struggling the entire time. He kept falling behind Chad and me, and we had to keep slowing down to wait for him to catch up. I kept telling Chad, hey, we got to push him harder, man. We got to push. We got to move. And Chad kept telling me, we're going to be fine. We're going to make it. I was getting antsy because I wanted some buffer time, but I stuck with my buddies. We tried our best to motivate Matt. And as it turns out, Chad was right. He kept pace the whole time, and the three of us made it. We made the ruck on time. We passed Rap Week, and we were going out to Darby together. Okay, so again, that's me going through Rap Week the second time. Go back and watch the other videos if you haven't watched them to give it a little bit more context and go in real detail about what those days look like. In the next video, I'm going to start going day by day through the Darby phase. I make these videos pretty sporadically whenever I have some spare time. They're not like planned out or anything. So please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. And please hit the like button to help others find the video. Additionally, I write a Substack newsletter called The Distro, where I talk about the military and leadership and a bunch of other great stuff. There's a free version of the newsletter, which is for most people, the free version is just perfect. If you've never used Substack before, then you can click on the link and drop in your email. When it asks you what kind of subscription you want, you can just click none, which is a little weird how it's worded, but you'll still get the free version of the newsletter and you'll have access to some of the select newsletters in the archive. And again, that's for most people. If you want to go a little bit extra, if you want full access to the archive and you want some of my smaller, more frequent newsletters, which come out about once a week, and if you want to be able to comment, there are some paid options as well. If you're in the military or if you're an ROTC cadet, you can get the paid option for free. Just sign up for the free version using a civilian email account, then reply to that intro email telling me who you are, and I'll get you upgraded for free. It's too easy. A bunch of you have already done this, so it's real easy. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Rangers lead the way.